So much is happening right now. So, welcome. I got a coffee. I think it's my last coffee of for in my house right now until I can get some more. Oh, I love it. Mm, I do. I do love coffee. Coffee, yes. Wine, yes. I do love it. I do love it. Ah, okay. Let's look. I'm just gonna go through. I am on YouTube Live, but before I get to my stuff, what is happening? What are some of the highlights like on my YouTube? I know everybody's YouTube page is different, but what's mine is because I follow a lot of geopolitical astrologers, um, and history. I follow a lot to do with history, of course, chateaus and things like that. So my page is a little different than most people's, right? So I got Neil Oliver. My wife was brought to tears about the babies, the dead babies, and everything, and what's happening with the babies. And all I have to say is like, why do they push abortion? Right? I understand the reasoning behind abortion, but why do politicians always argue about abortion and the rights to abortion? Think about it. Mark Connie's secrets flood the internet. Wah-ha-ha-ha. IRGC attack Azerbaijan. Cuba is finished. Let's see, what else do we have? We had enough. Let's see what else. Oh my God. Um, and then home prices. Oh, that's an old one. Oh, here's one. Investment cycle, it will take 3 more years. So, talking about the cycles of investing. Polyev pitches Canada LNG in Berlin. Iranian's regime exported terrorism for decades. Yeah, just crazy. And then the Leo King had his did his live last night with um he had his live, and it was with, can never remember her name, and I wish I should remember her name, but she's a historian. It was very good. The history in the stars last night. And he does it on, but with Dr. Ann Wilkie, and she has a PhD in history. So, Ann Wilkie. So, yeah, that was very good. Now, a lot of people, I mean, I've followed Leo King, and I've taken his classes and stuff. I've done this since 20 way before 2017. I was following him, like, he came on my scope in around 2012. Um and taking and listening to him, and he was just a young a young one, a youngin. And K-Pacha, and I'm following K-Pacha. K-Pacha I followed like since 2010. He was when I was working with one of my teachers at the time, and she started talking about him. And with her talking, when she was talking about him, it was when he tried to come into Canada to do a talk, and they banned him. At that time, he couldn't cross the border because he smoked pot when he was a teenager, or some kind of stupid shit. And then they wouldn't allow him into Canada at that time. And of course, that was before the legalization of marijuana. But so he lives in Costa Rica. I've followed him. I've taken a couple classes with him. Um, who else? There's a few people that I've taken classes with, astrologers that I've taken classes with and stuff. So it's been a journey. K-Pacha I still listen to quite often. Of course, I am on the Leo King platform, and I do subscribe to it, and I I mean, I love because I love his energy. I mean, his energy isn't for everybody. I know he pisses people off, but he's got that energy, and plus he's truthful, right? And I love it when people come in with the truth. He's been demonized and everything else, throughout the ages, throughout the years, with what he's done. And plus, what he's doing with AI is phenomenal. And he's taking astrology to another level. He's taking that to another level that hasn't been done before. So it's very, very interesting, in everything. But anyways, what he was talking about last night and taking in the history and everything to do with the Iraq Iran war. Um, and what's happening. And the thing is that I know Iranians. I've met many Iranians. I follow Tulsi TV, um, and his father is still in Tehran, and um, a couple of my Starbucks baristas that I go see, their families in Iran, and hearing their stories, and then hearing what's going on and stuff. There is a lot that's happening, and yes, the IRGC is a tyrannical, um, political party and have done horrendous things and killed many people. So listening to many different spectrums on what is happening. And the thing is, the biggest thing is, and and I've said this before in a lot of my predictions, I've said it before, and a lot of the energies, that are coming in, is a separation from religion, and to separate and deprogramming from religion is a huge one. And it because it holds so much guilt, right? I mean, religion is based on guilt, keeping you in the fold, and keeping you, whether it's with, whatever road people decide to go on, like Judaism. Um Tyler, I can't remember his last name. He's a YouTuber. His Patreon was wiped because he talked about the Hasidic Jews in New York, and he went in and did a huge investigation. They went after him. A lot of his people, that were sponsors, pulled back on him because, I mean, he's talked about the Somalians. He went in and went into the Amish community. He's been in many different communities. He's traveled the world. He's done so many things. As soon as he started talking about the Hasidic Jews, all his sponsorship was gone. So it's interesting, the power, the political power, the power that some of these, religious organizations have if they don't like you. I mean, all of a sudden you can disappear. Now you have, of course, you have all the Christians and the different ones, and even within the Christianity and even within the Catholic, they don't like what you say. They don't like what you do. If I mean, the thing is, it's like, even as a priest, if you say the wrong political thing on the pulpit, you can get a call from the bishop, because the bishop gets a call, from, goes all the way up to the monsignors, to the cardinals, to the pope, that it's coming down, that, okay, you got to restrain with what you're saying, right? You can't be doing what you're doing. I mean, the bishops are really ones that move the priests around, either send them back home. I remember years ago when, Buckley was a big, huge case back in the 90s, and he was one of the biggest pedophiles in the church, and he was moved around. He was moved around because he was even doing retreats, young men retreats at the bishop's cabin, um, and at Cathedral Lakes, I think it was. Yes. Anyways, and I know he's tinkered with a few people I know. And anyways, it was it wasn't until he did a confession when he was on retreat in Edmonton, and the priest stopped him. Like, God bless this priest, stopped him and said, "You know what? I'm stopping the confession now." Right? He stopped the confession. And he said, "I am not taking your confession. I'm reporting you to police. You have 48 hours to get back to your diocese. The bishop will be called. The RCMP is going to be called." And a huge investigation was unfolded from there. Um, a good friend of mine who I grew up with, who became a priest, we all, Kevin, figured like he'd be a priest. But, you know, coming out with him that he had, and he called, like, there were love letters exchanged between him and another young boy that used to be very close to his family, um, and used to, go up to his, family ranch, and anyways, it was, and then he became a priest and stuff. Um, Huge scandal with that, like, and then trying to cover it up. Another one, I have a few. I have a few people. Another one was with this, he was a Filipino priest, and, we were still living in Penticton at the time, and I never liked him. He always gave me the ickies, and, my kids were young. I didn't even like Buckley. Buckley, I didn't like at all. Like, I met him, going back to him, because my mom said he was the nicest priest to ever work. My mom worked at the rectory. She goes, he was one of the nicest priests to work with, which was weird. I mean, because he had this persona and he was very kind. When I met him, it was really weird because, I went and I introduced myself to him, and he was kind of like shruggish. And then my kids ran up to me. My kids came, Dominetti, came up, and all of a sudden he wanted to talk to me, and I was like, oh, that's weird, kind of weird, But at that, yes, about people who are pedos, but you don't, sometimes you don't correlate the two with a person at first, right? But you just get a weird feeling about them. My sister Susan had a weird feeling about him too, and said, I don't like him. Um, and the it's just the depth of conspiracy and manipulation that go on with it, right? And it's not only within the Catholic Church, but it is with the Mormons, the Baptists. Oh my God, going to the Hutterites. I have girls that used to work with me that escaped from the colony in Manitoba, because of one of their senior men used to, tinker with the girls and the boys, but that you weren't allowed to talk about it, because in the colony, if you start to oust the people or the hierarchy, all of a sudden you are not allowed to eat together. You're not allowed to come in. You're not allowed to go to church, and that's your whole life. Is the colony, is the people, right? Um, and it's crazy. My dad went to the Catholic high school. He punched the priest in the face for trying to touch me. Yes, love dad, love dad. Punch him in the face, love it. But this is a deprogramming that we're going through, a huge deprogramming, and it's a huge. I'm reading a book about feminism right now. It's quite, it's very interesting, and the propaganda that with feminism and how feminism was brought to be, and it goes not from the 60s and 70s, where maybe some of us can remember, or the 80s. This goes further back. This goes back into the 18, into the suffrage movement and even beyond, on how it was sort of, because you got to look at the biggest propaganda within the last 150 years has been the dismantlement of the family unit, right? And how that has, you know, changed the way society works, the way society is, how we function. I mean, if you think of an income from the 50s and even part of the 70s, 56, like all the way through, a one income could actually, your whole family could survive. And it's not saying that women didn't work. You can go back. I mean, I studied into the Tudor age and the medieval age. Women were working. Women had businesses, right? It wasn't like they didn't work. Wasn't like they didn't have property, or do anything, or employ other employees. And they were industries, from even the dairy industry to the textile industries to, the bakery and things, different industries that women were a part of, and even had their own businesses, right? So the thing is that within history they try to dismantle that. Everything is tried to brush it over, and bringing in and you know um how even in today wanting to create where, follow this way, follow that way, even within spirituality. And that's why many times I was blacklisted. Even today, um there's certain psychic fairs that go on, and if I submit my name into those fairs, I will not hear a word back from them. Where somebody else who does the same thing I do, will hear back from them within a day, or within that day. I will not hear a peep. I'm blacklisted from a lot of these different ones, and they'll pretend that they don't know me, and which is bullshit. I've had people come up who have met me several times. "Oh, oh, I've never met you." "Oh, yeah, you have. We've had conversations before." So, it's interesting. "Oh, well, we put you on a wait list," right? So, it's interesting, how even within those communities work. And so that's why for me doing what I do is like, no, I gotta do my own thing. And that's where we're heading. That's the energy we're in. I've been being prepared for this and the chaos and the dismantlement all my life. I'm 62 years old. I've been being prepared for this, and I am prepared for this. This is why my job right now is for women 40 to 60 years old, to work with them and work with how they are going through their own dismantlement within their own world, and helping them through the chaos and bringing forth the clarity and a foundational work. That's my work right now. That is my soul work. And with that will come in my astrology and everything else that I have learned through many years. But that is my work. Into discussion. That's my where I grow. That's where I flow. And it's bringing in the understanding of the financials. I'm not a financial advisor, but I can explain to you what is happening financially within the world, right? And how that, as women, how we have to be prepared in many different ways in doing this. And it's so important for us to come in. Oh yeah, they're so toxic. I remember and where when we worked, where was it? And I went, you were downstairs doing healings, right? You were downstairs doing healings, and I went down there, and it was just like, whoa, like you had a nice little area, and it was so beautiful. And so, but just walking into that basement area, it was like, what the fuck is happening here? It was so crazy. It felt so toxic, you know. And this is where it's like you begin to feel these types of area, because it's like ego gets in the way, evil, and I think the evil ego gets in the way, where they don't want to grow. They don't want to hear other people's opinions. They don't like it when you speak out against them, or you call them on their bullshit, right? It's like, you talk to somebody, and they're like, "Oh, we're into open marriages, and we're into, trading this and that." And I'm just like, "No, that's disgusting." Like, you have no autonomy, you have no um care for who you are as a person, right? And you're getting lost into this crazy sexual way. I don't know if you remember when, "Oh, let's go and hug. We're in the hug group." I'm like, "What the fuck is a hug group?" Like, and you find out, oh, it's a little bit more than hugging that they do at these groups. Oh no, it's very innocent. No, if you need a hug, come to the hug group. It was horrible down there. Yeah, it was. But this is where, the change that is coming in. And listening to what David had to say yesterday with Anne was very interesting, because I truly do believe that when you look at what's going on, and even okay, we'll bring in the astrology. Jupiter. I've never really liked Jupiter and Saturn at all. Like, Jupiter to me is he's always been kind of an asshole. I mean, yes, no offense to my Sag people, okay? I love you all. But because he's not Santa Claus. He's not the one who is who will just, expand only that of good. He expands everything. He's Zeus. Zeus was not exactly, I mean, his representation is that of Zeus, and Zeus is not exactly eh, a god that was very kind. He was kind of a little bit of a turd, and he did horrific things, right? He even backed his brother Poseidon, who, who raped Medusa, right? And because Venus was upset of the whole Athena was upset about the whole thing, right? She didn't take Medusa's side. So of course they cursed her, and off with their heads. So that's why, the asteroid Medusa, there's an asteroid actually called Medusa. When it gets hit, you will see things get severed, right? Whatever that is, not literally off with their heads, but it could be. But things in the world get severed, right? And people do. They get so jealous of things. And I get it, because sometimes you do, as a person who's entering into a spiritual community, you want to be accepted. You want to be want to, you wonder, why do they why does that, you watch that person. I even when I was in going to church, I would watch certain people. I'm like, why are they getting accolades? Like, why are people liking them, right? What the fuck are you expanding? Exactly. You know, it is. It's a natural ego thing. But going back to Jupiter, Jupiter being, that of being a little bit of an asshole. He is. When you get into the study of John Dees and you get into the study of a lot more, you find that he's Baal. The one that the Jewish people don't like, the one the Christians don't like, the one um Muslims don't like, right? And when the Epstein files came out, what did they do in Iran? Plus, they had an obelisk behind there. The effigy, they set it on fire before the war. And you got to think, what the fuck is this happening? The symbolisms that are there. But a lot of people, and that was on February 11th that they did that. A lot of times people don't remember these things or they don't pay attention to these things. I'm one of those weirdos that do. And the whole thing about, what is Baal, right? And Jupiter and the energies of Jupiter and the expansion of what that is and the association of what it is. And then if you bring in that, where what is it in Mark? It's a famous passage where Jesus ousted the evil spirits in the name of, or he in the evil spirits, and of that a ball and um Belzadine. He's actually kind of like a fly kind of thing in mythology and in the 15th and 16th century, right? Where he's an insect, right? And of course, Jesus is called out by those who see what he's doing, right? And they call him out. And then Jesus says, how, if I am Satan, how can Satan call out his own evil? Right? So interesting. I mean, you can get into the theology and the dissection of it all, of what is going on, and the layers of the bullshit that is going on. We see that the birth rates are going down and death rates are going up. And I said there's going to be a whole, about any Pluto Sagittarius. If you have a Pluto Sag kid, and I've heard many other astrologers say wipe, wipe everything they have on social media, like wipe it, wipe it. If you have a kid who's that of the age of going to war, because they're talking even now about having, bringing back the draft here in Canada, bringing back the draft in the United States. Um, so this is where we're seeing that they want to keep this going, this sacrifice. Anyways, and going back to the death rate, we're going to see many Pluto Sagittarius are going to die. And in fact, many Pluto Sagittarius have died because of the abortion rate, and how many have been sacrificed with being aborted. People don't want to hear it. People don't like it. It's something that is like, ooh, don't say that. But yeah, many have been aborted because it was trendy. It was cool to say, oh, I've had 5, I've had 2, I've had 1. Like, what the fuck? Like, you've been brainwashed in another religion that, that is not, you know, in a whole nother lane there that is going on. So when you look at the West, like, I think it's 1.6 is the average um, for birth rate. When I was a kid, they used to talk about birth rate being 2.7. I always wanted to see what the point 0.7 child looked like. I'm like, what is point 0.7? What does that mean? But at least, you had a growing birth rate at the time. When you go into the Islamic regimes or the Islamic, their average birth rate, it used to be 6.9. Crazy. I think it's dropped down to like 3 point something. So we know the Islamic regime, whether you like it or not, is the one that's growing. We have entered a holy war. A lot of the energies are going back to like 1054, and 1054 was that of the schism when, there was a nobulus explosion, a star exploding, and it was in the sky. Now, the church, the Catholic Church, and it was the Orthodox Church at the time. There was no, they were one. Said, "Don't look up, don't look up. There's nothing up there to look." The only ones that wrote about it were, the Chinese wrote about it. I think Islam wrote about it, and in the Americas, the natives wrote about it as well. And the Chinese were the ones who reported on it quite a bit and talked about it. Their astrologers. And then came the great schism of the breakup between the Orthodox and the Catholic Church, because they couldn't agree on some of their dogmas. But and then of course came the holy wars shortly after that. And that's very much where Jupiter, and it happened, especially with Jupiter being opposed to Aquarius. And what are we coming into? Jupiter is going to be opposing Aquarius with Pluto. So that Jupiter Pluto opposition, which is going to be when Jupiter enters into Leo, and goes into Leo, and we have that opposition that's going to be happening in and around closer, I think, to summertime. So we're going to be seeing some crazy activations that are going to be happening from there, and surges that are coming in. But I mean, I feel like that if you look at the basis of the religions, if they all believe in the ball, and they're based on that, and wanting praise. Like, I'm not saying there's not a God. I know there is a God. I know there is a mother and a father, and that's what I call them, the mother and the father, and the blessing of the mother and the father. Because I know there's this energy that is beyond that of what they come down here and name. And that's where we're entering into. In order for us to create this newness, to create this new um, world, we have to break away from the dogma, and wherever that dogma is within our life. And to break away from that it's harder than breaking away from any drugs or alcohol, because it goes down to a core essence of wanting some sort of acceptance of a community, of having that connection. And there is some books, and I was looking at their Irish books on looking at how before Christianity hit Ireland, and how Ireland with the Druids and with the connections with nature, that they really believed in nature. They believed nature was the judge, right? So if you did something so horrific within the community, you would be pushed out past the ninth wave. Now, you see that within other communities. You see that within Hawaiian communities. You can go back into Australia and New Zealand to the original ones, which I believe that Australia and New Zealand have the original people. they're older. What did they? I read that they're older than time, right? And how they trust it within the energies of nature. Trust it that, yeah, it might be hard right now, or maybe you don't have water, or maybe you don't have food, but when you trust in that God without name, because God has no name, and you trust in that energy and you reach into past all of the other stuff, right? Past all of that other stuff, including the angels, and passing past them, including the saints, right? So we're surpassing the surpassing of the surpassing, and we're going to God. That's the energy that we're at right now. That's the energy that we're going towards. And when you say that, especially with all, we got lovely little angel people out there who, like, God bless the angels, and you see these, they call them the angel ones, that they have this, but don't fuck with them because they'll fuck back with you. Trust me. Uh, don't fuck with the angel person. It's like you got to reach further on than that, right? And that's where the God is. That's the God essence. Because the God essence has no name. When you put a name to it, when we put a name to it, you're adding an ego. So when you put a name to Jesus, you're adding an ego. People add that ego to him, right? He didn't come down to be God. They made him God because they needed a God at Constantinople. Constantine needed a God in order to unite everything. He didn't even, he did not, even Constantine didn't even convert to Christianity until he was on his deathbed. He still prayed to his sun God. And it was his mother, because his mother wanted to be a part of it. So he sent her to the Holy Land. Okay, go find the cross. So she basically, whatever cross they brought to her, she had people sacrifice themselves. And if you survived, then that was the cross of Christ. Look into your history. Allah going into a cave, Muhammad going into a cave. He talked to Gabriel. When he went back to tell, the only people that would listen to him was his family. He actually went and he wanted to convert the Jews, and they didn't want anything of him, and he got mad. So that's when he started to kill the Jews, because they wouldn't convert to what he said. So this is when, and you look, and then the things that he did. We won't even get into this, the kind of he was a warlord, right? And his last wife, because she was 9 years old, oh, she's the lineage that's going to carry him all. Like, because he probably got into some derangement shit, because he was in his like 50s and 60s at that time, right? And if you look at, to go to the Cuban Mecca, it's fucked up. It's really fucked up. And then he died, I think, in Mecca. He had an odd Saturn Neptune, and a Saturn Pluto oddity in his chart. Leo King talked about that a little bit last night. But it's interesting when you look at the connections of all of them. And yeah, I mean, to my family, I'd be blasphemed, right? Except my family was weird, because it was like, don't tell anybody what we're doing inside the house. Don't tell anybody that my grandma could read tea leaves, and that she invited people over in the afternoon, and that they paid her to read tea leaves. Don't tell anybody that my dad had second sight and could tell things. Like, there's a story, it was in the newspaper in Halifax, and it was in the wintertime. And my dad he goes, I had a really weird feeling. My father, him and his feelings, had a feeling, but I had to go down by the ocean. there's a pathway there, and he goes, I had to go down there. He was like, I was being called. There's a man who walked out onto the ice and fell into to the water, and my dad went out and saved him. And then there was a big write up. But he goes, I knew I had to go there. I knew God. He didn't say Jesus. He goes, I knew God was leading me. God was telling me I had to go there. When I trust in God, when I trust in that essence, it's not going to lead you to doing something wrong. It's not going to lead you to where you are going to go into a situation that is going to get you to be harmed, right? Because your intuition is going to tell you, don't go there, right? That's not a good idea. You know, don't go out with that guy. He's no good for you. You get a feeling, but somehow you're no, he's got to be good because he loves me, he cares for me, blah 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 blah, right? This is, her mother was a witch doctor until I started asking who she was when she started showing herself to me. Yeah, exactly. Because the thing is that energy was the connection with what was so natural. It was nature. Nature as the essence, nature as that essence of the divine. That's what it was. That's what it is. And that's the connection that we are in this energy that at the end of 6,000 years. And if you go back even to 4132 BC, there's nothing really written there. 4130, if you look at it, was it's like what was going on? Was there when was Babylon? When did the Jews show up? Because Abraham was not Jewish. He went from Abraham to Abram. His name changed, right? And he changed. Whoops. You know, Whoops. There you go. Sorry. Um, but the thing is I don't know. It's like yeah, I think there's a lot going on, right? Um, it's funny, you should read. I read it. It is funny, but you can go back to Buddha, you can go back to Hindu religion, go back to the Hindu religion. That's crazy. They were in spaceships. And the connection, it all goes back to the essence of the connection, right? And even if you go back into the Hindi gods, they all have fucking egos. They're all killing each other. I mean, Kali wasn't exactly the nicest woman in the world. I mean, going around killing, pulling off heads, drinking blood of the venoms of the demons, you know, the monkey god and whoever else. There, many of them, and even when you go back into to in mythology of the different goddesses, there's some really not very nice goddesses that were there. There's that attachment to ego, even with Zeus and the Greek gods turned into the Roman gods, and the names changed, but the essence of who they are were still the same. They just wanted to change their names to even the Irish, the Celts, the all of them, right? Because God has no ego. God is an essence. But when you put a name to it, that's where the ego comes in. And it's a mind fuck. It really is a mind fuck. It really is, right? And when you see these things, when you see this energy that's coming in and the frequencies that are coming in, and the headlines that I just read, that's going on. Yeah, by March, and I agree with what I mean. Well, I said between the 10th and the 15th. By the 15th, we're in it, whether we like it or not. And by the 15th of April, there's no going back out of it. And then more comes in sometime in July, at the end of July. So this is a time to get your stuff in order. This is a time to look at What am I creating? Not to be afraid of this energy. This is a fabulous time of creation. This is a fabulous time to create what it is that you love to create. You can get all freaked out over the Hezbollah and Islam and stuff like that, and the Shiites and stuff like that. I just like, okay, it is going to be what it is. Will Islam take over? Probably. They're doing a fucking good job of it right now. You know, there's more of them than there is of us, kind of thing. But this is where it's like, but when you come into that essence and you come into that nature, that's even stronger. And you come into what you want to create. Whether that you create with painting or art or whatever it is, or you create with gardening or you're cooking or anything along that line. I mean, creating is in different things. Creating can be within organizing. I'm creating a new kitchen thanks to hey, yeah. And the thing is that creating that new kitchen is allowing you to say, now I can really have what it is that I truly want in my kitchen. Right? You know, you had to go through something horrific in order to gain something that is cool. And I watched that even with Chateau Diaries. If you don't watch Shadow Diaries, right? So, so this is where we're at. We're at a time of creating newness. You know, for me, it's like creating my the different containers I'm creating. So right now I have my 3 month container, the March, April, May, and bringing in the clarity, bringing in the boundaries, and then being able to utilize it to when I'm going to be creating my new foundation that I am starting, and starting my my new foundation. And that foundation is bringing in um and my foundation is that I'm the founder of the Clarity and Stability Collective. That's my foundation. My foundation is the Clarity and Stability Collective. That's what I'm focusing on. And it's for women ages 40 to 60. And allowing myself and going in there because I've had I've had 3 different readings, and every single reading, it's funny when you get a reading. Um 3 different readings, and each reading all said the same. And it was like, "Holy shit, okay, so how am I going to do this?" Right? So, it was basically me taking all of the different cheese strings, that's what I call them. And you try to tie the tree strings up into one, taking them and saying, "Okay, those are nice. I have those. I have them, but here I'm going. This is the road that I want to set into," because each one of them, and in doing it, and I just was asking what of direction and which way to go, and how to put my, where to put my energy as I go forward, and they all said you got to choose one thing, focus on one item within it, and you're very good at working with chaos. And you're very good at working with women and helping women through chaos. And I'm like, oh, man, why couldn't somebody have told me that? I kind of knew I was good at working with women. Definitely, I knew that calling. But then you get within the spiritual community and wanting, oh, I need angels, and I need this, and I need to work with female angels, and I need to work, and you get lost. And I'm just like, okay, but my calling has always come back to the astrology, has always come back to that intuition. That's my jam, and working with the chaos and understanding how that chaos, how you work through that chaos, how you can step into and be able to come out on the other side and bring in that clarity, bring in that the sustainability, and even looking at parts of the financial flow, right? And how you can actually um work with it. And not I'm not I keep on telling, I'm not a financial advisor, but just bringing in that energy of showing you, here are some avenues for you to work with. as you're going through, especially with women between the ages of 40 and 60. They're the ones, they're the majority holder in this world right now, is women between the ages of 40 and 60. They're the ones that are going through the most dramatic change through perimenopause and menopause, and how that energy and how those frequencies, how you can take that energy and become within your clarity, come in within your stability, and move within the new alignments that are coming through, and take it on. Love it. Love it. We're in it, baby. We're in it. And it is crazy. I did look at that, Charlene, and yes, it is funny. Um, I'm just where I love the energy of Jesus, and what he stood for and what he came here for. Um, and how many of them came before and said the same thing. But you go through it, and now they're coming in and saying, oh well, Mother Teresa is on the Epstein list, and this pope is on the Epstein list, and this person, and she sold this and she sold that. I don't have evidence to it. I don't know if it's true or not. Could be. I would like to believe it's not, but you don't know, right? It's like you could go back throughout and see all the horrific things that were done. And even through, and I'm not just pinpointing Christianity, but Islam. You go through the Islamic and how they rate it, and even went into parts of Ireland. And that's why that's why if you go into the Caribbean, why if you listen to a lot of the slang in the Caribbean is very Irish. And that's because the first people that they brought over, the first white people they brought over as indentured servants were Irish. Were the Irish that came over, right? And brought them over. So it's quite interesting, when you look into it all, and you look into that history and stuff. And I find this is where we're at, because I think they're all connected to the evil one. you know they're like, they're all wanting a part of something. They're all wanting a piece of it, and the more they have, the more followers they have. If you ever watched any of those cartoons, and of the gods that nobody's praying to them anymore, then they die away. If you're not getting the seats in the pew, they're going to die. Isn't that the truth? Because you're not giving them the energy. Your energy, your frequency is what keeps it alive. So where do you want to put your frequency? Where do you want to put it into your own life and keeping that alive, right? You know, and looking and putting that energy into this newness that's coming in, because this is a 6,000 year transit that we're entering, right? Definitely, and definitely do that. Build a flower garden, sit in the beauty of it. Absolutely. Be enthralled in it. That's why I love watching Chateau Diaries, because that's what she does. She creates her own world. She created a beautiful place with beautiful people that come there and work, and that people from all over the world want to go there for the bed and breakfast. She shows some of the craziness that she has to go through. I mean, she had to redesign her whole kitchen. She thought her kitchen was fine until the sewer backed up, and whatever else, and the whole thing had to be torn apart and redone, and the whole system, her whole, you know, the whole, plumbing system had to be redone, right? To, these are the things, is like she created like her gardens, right? And that's beautiful. That's beautiful. That's exactly. And yeah, your intuition, your spirituality is still there. Your connection to your grandmother, to your great grandmother, to all of them who've come before you is still there, right? It's not going anywhere. And if somebody wants to come and sit and enjoy your garden, it's whoever you decide to invite in. And maybe that's the person that you talk to or help, and it could be the person in the grocery line, whatever, right? That's the essence. But before we had in our head, and even I had in my head, that I have to be out there, I have to get in there, I have to do this, and I have to, I have to be the psychic medium, and I have to be that. And psychic medium never sat with me, right? I don't care. People can use it, and other people have used the name, and they've gone on to beautiful things, but I've never aligned with that. I've never aligned with that. The guru mama, definite. I don't know. I just being called mama has always been a thing. I've always been called a mama, right? Ever since I was a kid, people I would be, oh, she's the mother of the group. Oh, mama's gonna go make coffee. I was the one always going to make coffee. So, being in that alignment is stepping into that alignment, stepping into that of the teacher and being the teacher and being the guidant, the one to help to bring forth the boundaries. And boundaries aren't just like, no, and I'm putting up a walled fence and there's going to be razor wire on top. Boundaries are, what's your routine? This is my routine I do in the morning. The phone can go off, things can go off, but that's my routine. That's my boundary. I'm not going to let somebody else come in until I'm ready to let them in. Right? Like boundaries on, somebody texts me at 4:30 in the morning or 2:30 in the morning, whatever it is. I'm not going to answer it unless it's my children. I might look at it, but I'm like, no, I'm not letting that in. I don't need that. See, those are the boundaries. That's the sacredness. That's what we are creating. And bringing in, and that comes in with the clarity. When we come in with that clarity, that's the beauty of it all. So on that note, ah, we have to walk up to the 7-Eleven and do some things and get something for lunch today. Um, so I want to send you guys off with so much love, and I'm going to take my dog for a. Do you want to go for a walk, Roxy? You want to go for a walk? She's kind of looking at me. She what? Maybe. Okay, but I don't know. Wake up with 2 coffees. I hear you, girl. Would I love to open up a thrift shop? Absolutely. But when I think about it, being there every single day, I think would drain the hell out of me. Right? Picking and choosing where I'm going to be. I'm going to be up in Vermilion in June, and putting it out there. Vicky's looking for anybody who does any readings and things like that. She's looking for people, and if you're from the Calgary area and you want to go, hey, you could drive me up. I'll pay for the gas. We could split a room. And yeah, let's go. She's looking for readers and stuff like that. And it's a beautiful, I love going to Vermilion. It is a beautiful community. There's a lot of beautiful people that are there. And if you're a psychic and stuff, if you do runes or bone throwing or whatever, I don't care. Definitely get a hold of her or get a hold of me, and I'll connect you to her. It's a cool place. But yeah, having my coffee. It's a double espresso right now with milk, steamed milk. That's what I'm drinking. Actually, it's 4 shots. Actually, it's too long. Anyways, that's what I'm drinking. But I'm going to send you guys off with so much love. Thank you for joining me, and go out there, create that beautifulness of you. Create that. Do it, right? It's absolutely that's what our world needs. Okay? Oh yeah, your dog's ears went up. Yeah, so did mine. She's back there crying to Steve. So may the Lord and the Lady watch over and bless each and every one of you, and all you say and all you be and all you do. May the Lord and the Lady watch over and bless you. Step into that beauty of you. God bless, and the goddess bless. Bye-bye.